Hey guys, if you're enjoying the content I'm putting up, then be sure to give the video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe so you always know when the next video pops up. Now that we got that part out of the way, let's get into the video. Final Fantasy XIV is a massive game with thousands of hours of content. What I'm going to do here is break down some of the major plot points for those of you who want to know more about Eorzea, but may not have time to experience it all firsthand. This time we're picking up with the third part of the Gunbreaker Storyline. It's been quite some time since you last saw your friends Radovan and Sophie, so you swing by Revenant's Toll just to see how they're doing. Radovan's been bombarded with quite a few adventurers who want to learn how to wield the coolest weapon ever, the Gunblade, if you didn't know what I was talking about. However, the way you caught on to using the weapon has him with pretty high expectations. He's been so busy with them that he hasn't done any of the other jobs. Sophie, on the other hand, has gotten sucked into the daily grind for tomestones that you probably know so well. Your friends are curious to hear about what you've been up to, and you have a bit of interesting information for them, something Radovan will find quite interesting. Thancred, a fellow member of the Scions of the Seventh Dawn who you are undoubtedly familiar with, had been trained as a gunbreaker. As you know, Thancred gets around, and during his time spying in Garlean territory he had been trained as a gunbreaker. However, the skill wasn't all that useful when it came to stealth, so he had stuck to what he knew. However, on the first, the skills more than came in handy. Radovan doesn't think that's possible. He was the only gunbreaker to escape from Bozja's citadel, and if he didn't train Thancred, then who did? Sophie did hear from someone traveling through Revenant's Toll that a Hrothgar with a gunblade was in Gridania. At first she thought they meant Radovan, but he hasn't been back there since you all went together. That means there must be another survivor. Radovan's so excited that he runs off, not even thinking about the fact that another gunbreaker may not even want to see him. You and Sophie follow him to Gridania to check with Mother Mione to see if she's seen this mysterious Bozjan. Mione has indeed seen the man, but that's not the most important part. The man was looking for Radovan. She told him about Radovan's bodyguard assignments and he went to find your old client in Gridania. Editha, the sylph in disguise who loved performing and wearing bunny ears, who you had protected from assassins when you first came to Gridania, actually shows up at the inn, much to Sophie's displeasure. Her and her manager had come to have a drink to celebrate her most recent performance, which saves you the trouble of hunting her down. The other gunbreaker did seek them out, and they had heard that, after guarding them, you and Radovan had headed to Ul'dah. He heads to Ul'dah in search of your second client, and, still wanting to catch him, you all head to meet Gerard, since his wife, Auriel, is probably still undergoing treatment for her drug addiction. Since you last saw Gerard, he and his son have been living together, and he's kept his word, paying for his wife's rehab. She's gotten better, but she hasn't forgiven herself for what she did to her son. I mean, the woman was selling the kid to slavers for drug money, so she definitely should feel bad. While it's good that they're doing well, once again, you're a few steps behind the other gunbreaker. He's already headed to the airship landing after Gerard told him that you left Ul'dah, meaning he's undoubtedly on his way to Limsa Lominsa. Futag Yafatag catches you up on what happened to Guildweeds after you left Limsa. The man testified just like he said he would, and his information led to a lot of high-profile criminals getting arrested. Not long after that, he died in his sleep. Again, you've missed the Hrothgar, which means he's headed off to Ishgard. You know, since you all knew that he was following your old trail, then you could have just headed to Ishgard in the first place and waited for him, which would have saved a ton of money on the airship tickets, but whatever. Rhys has indeed seen the other gunbreaker, but you've missed him once again. Radovan decides to head back to Revenant's Toll until Rhys lets you know that when he mentioned Mamula, the Garlean engineer who you protected forever ago, he seemed shocked. When he asked where to find the man, Rhys told him. Now you remember how Radovan had reacted when he saw Mamula. He had been a hair's breadth away from killing the man. The only thing that had stopped him from taking revenge for everyone who died in Bozja was you. And you aren't there to stop this gunbreaker. Mamula is in Providence Point inspecting the exterior wall, so you race off to save him. The three of you arrive to see Mamula talking to a Hrothgar named Rostic, who hadn't come to kill him at all. Instead, he wanted to ask the man for help with rebuilding Bozja's citadel. While that catches Radovan off guard, what Rostic says next is even more shocking. There were other survivors. People who were away on missions or visiting other settlements managed to make it out of the range of the explosion. Sadly, Radovan's family and the royal family all died, but Rostic is searching for all survivors, and together they will rebuild their homeland or find a new place to settle, and he wants Radovan to join him in the effort. It only takes him seeing the horror on Sophie's face for him to turn down the offer. He lost one family, but he gained a new one with Sophie, and there's no way he'd ever abandon her. Not to mention he's got a new gunbreaker to nurture and train. With no hard feelings, Rostic heads off, but not before telling Radovan to send any Bozjans he comes across in his direction. Mamula thanks you for coming to his aid, and once he's done with his duties in Ishgard, he will do what he can to help restore Bozja for Rostic and his people. Now that this little adventure is done, you head back to Revenant's Toll. Since Radovan knows that there are other gunbreakers out there, he doesn't have to rush his search for potential students. Instead, he's going to go back to being a bodyguard for a while to show more people what Bozjans can do. Sophie thinks that she can do the same for Dalmasca, since she had apparently forgotten to mention that she's from Rabanastre. Even though Garleans destroyed the city, her traditions live on, so while Radovan shows off his gunbreaker skills, she can spread her traditions to the people. Of course, they will still use Revenant's Toll as their base, so your paths will certainly cross again, and next time, you may even be as strong of a gunbreaker as Radovan. This concludes the story of the Gunbreaker, at least for now. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on the next video.